What's up, guys? We are here with another bonus segment from the factory tour. I'm here talking with Wyatt at WyattB_FF on Twitter. He's one of the main guys over at JWB Fantasy Football. He's the W, if you couldn't figure that out. And we're here to talk about some takeaways after NFL Week 2. Um, just things we're thinking about, things that we feel like we've learned from these 2 weeks of this young NFL season. And I'm going to kick it over to you first, Wyatt. What do you think is the main takeaway at this point in the season?
Um, so my main takeaway is something that honestly is like my main takeaway every year, and something I try to practice and get better at every single year, and that's trying to parse through the real data that we are getting to start the season, because we get so much noise throughout
Yep.
the off season. We in these like first couple weeks of the season, we get more real data than we got through the entire off season. Player or teams are showing us what they really think about the players on their team, but there are times when that data is flawed and we have to try and parse through it to find what's real and what's not. Uh, you have to be so quick and agile to react to the data we're getting early in the season, both like waiver wire, like if you jumped on Kyron Williams, if you jumped on Puka
Yep.
Nakua, like you were feeling pretty good right now. Those kinds of things, like just working through everything we're seeing to find out what's real, what's sustainable, I think will always set you up better, for the rest of the year. You just have to be so quick to let go of your priors
Yeah.
that you had coming into the season. Like I was in on Cam Akers. It was so obvious week one that was nothing. Like there was like it wasn't that big of a surprise to me when he was a healthy and active, because he was down, I believe it was 24-6 in snaps in the first half of the first
Yeah.
game to Kyron Williams. It was like, oh, once you know that, like this is over. There's nothing here. You have to be really quick to just say, like, I was completely wrong. I have to move on.
Yeah. I mean, ideally, you want to be perfectly measured in all of your decisions and you don't want to come on too strong or too weak. But like if you have to err on one side or the other, it's probably better to overreact than to underreact, because that's when you're gonna find yourself in the position of like, oh, I got Puka Nakua for only a second round pick and now he's worth a first or two firsts or whatever. Whereas on the other side of the coin, it's like, well, good thing I slow played it and I didn't lose my late second round pick that I could have spent to get this guy. You probably want to overreact to the first couple of weeks of the season rather than underreact. I think that's a really good takeaway.
Yeah, I agree with you, because I think that's how you like find the big wins, is not being timid.
Yeah, spend your fab early. I probably make more trades early, like first couple weeks of the season in Dynasty than I do throughout the rest of the year. Like I've already made 9, 10 Dynasty trades since week one, because this is the time where you can see like what's coming, but your leagues haven't necessarily adjusted to that. And so you can buy high on a player when that's still rising, their value is still going up because the market hasn't fully corrected to like what the new prior should be on that player. For me, my takeaway is a little less broad, a little bit more focused, but it circles back to a talking point from this offseason, which is who is this year's Josh Jacobs? A guy who is undervalued, but turns out to be, a workhorse running back who's actually been good all along. And, he finishes with this breakout season. We do this every year. There's a good player, and then it's like, okay, who's going to be the next guy to do this? Most of the time, there's not, because those legendary seasons that come out of nowhere for a reason. They're outliers, and they're not the kind of thing we should be trying to cram every player into when they fit some of the archetypal uh, factors that player did. So, some of the popular picks for that were like Najee Harris, Damian Pierce, Miles Sanders, Alexander Madison, Cam Akers. All of these players have been colossal busts thus far this season. They were kind of your stereotypical dead zone running backs where they're not elite talents. They have talent concerns, they have usage concerns, or they have offensive concerns. And none of these guys, these five running backs, rank higher than the RB29 in points per game at this point. Najee Harris has literally 5 PPR points per game, which is like RB50 something. So I guess the overarching lesson is don't try to chase last year's outliers and fit them onto this year's players. But specifically, the dead zone running back archetype is still alive and well. And you do want to look out for it. You don't want to be leaning into these running backs that don't have the elite underlying metrics. They don't have the full time usage, or they don't have those offensive situations that are conducive to fantasy scoring. And the fact that one guy kind of broke that mold and turned in a top 5 season doesn't change what we fundamentally know about the running back position.
Yeah, I really hate the next talk. It's really just a way to sell tickets to your show. Whenever you use
Yeah.
like that term, I think that's literally all it is. I mean, like, yes, like you could just look at here's a player who's undervalued for those reasons. They could be better. Those kinds of things. So you should be looking for those, but stop chasing the outliers. You'll just be doing that chasing the whole time.
Yeah. So those are our big takeaways from NFL Week 2. Don't try to chase the next big thing. Next year, it's going to be who's the next Puka Nakua. Spoiler alert: there isn't one. There will not be. You heard it here first, folks. There will not be a day 3 rookie wide receiver with 34 targets through the first 2 weeks next year.
Bold.
I know that's a bold take, but book it, bookmark this, come back to it. I guarantee it. The other takeaway is overreact to the beginning of the season. Do not underreact. Be quick to make moves based on the actual concrete data that we have after a couple of weeks of football. And it's not too late. There are still players where the sands are shifting. The rankings are going to be fluctuating, but you still have a couple weeks before everything is really set in stone. So go out and get those trades. Do not wait. And this has been the Factory Tour. Hope you guys will tune in next week.